and DocLink document management solution to you folks today. Just to make sure that you can see my screen all right. All right.
Yes, we can.
Okay, excellent. Well, pretty much is we all live in a world where we have instant access to information. We use this. Another word, for example, the minute you get off, the plane, you pull out your phone, getting directions to the hotel or, to the nearest restaurant. And so the question is, why is it so challenging for us to have access to our company information? So this is where DocLink can help you today. Okay. First, let's talk about how you're storing your documents. Now, believe it or not, all of us are doing some form of document management. The file cabinet that you have in your office, that is a form of document management. Okay. It's not the most secure way or the most cost-effective solution way, but it is. So, but as you can see, you're running into searching issue, security to your documents. Then, of course, some of you are using those big multifunction device, those big printer, scanner, copying one, and you're scanning documents into a network share folder. That is also another form of document management. But over time, as you're storing more and more documents into your network share folder, unless you're the person who stored it away, others are going to have problems finding those documents. And to find them, they pretty much have to know where it is. They have to navigate through the folders, the subfolders, the sub-subfolders. And then also, you're going to run into searching issue, security issue. In other words, how often do we go in and say, I know that document was there yesterday, or that folder was there last week, and magically it just disappeared. We're all happy mouse clicker, okay? So we accidentally delete or move things all the time. So there's our security concern. And then some of you may have in-house software applications. Take an example, your Sage 100. You have paperless Office. Yes, you can access your documents within the Sage ERP, but it's just a link to documents that you have on your network share folder. So again, back to the security issue. Someone can go into your network share folder, delete those documents or move those documents, and now you're going to not able to have access to those documents within the Sage paperless Office. Okay. And also you have only able to access documents that pertain to Sage. But this is where DocLink come in play. This is why Sage, we're a partner of Sage for the past over a decade of our document management solution. So what is DocLink? Some of you may have heard of the term document management. You may have heard of the term record management. And then there's also content management. Well, DocLink, we're all of that. It's all depending on how you want to use the system. Some of you may run into problems like you're running out of storage space. You're tired of paying for offsite storage. You just need a system to be able to store your done completed document, have it secure, and have it searchable. That is document management. It's just storage and retrieval. But then you may have some documents that to comply with regulated policy, you have retention schedule. You may have different retention schedule for different types of documents. Example, for your AP invoices, you may be required by law to keep them for 7 years. And then after that, you need to get rid of those documents. Or for your contracts, maybe you're required to keep them for 5 years after the contract expired. So the ability to allow you to apply retention schedule to different types of documents and tracking the life cycle of your document. That is record management. And yes, DocLink can allow you to do that as well. But then many of you have these live working documents. Take an example, your AP invoices that are coming in. It needs to be routed around for people to review and approve of and action to take upon. So the live working documents. And you may have documents in different file format. You may have Word file, Excel file, PowerPoint. You may have AutoCAD drawings, video files. DocLink, we can allow you to store files in any format. That's what it's called, content. Okay. So yes, DocLink is an enterprise content management solution as well. We're going to dive deep in that. So at the end of the day is just know that with the system, we offer different methods of how you can capture your data and store into this, imagine this electronic file cabinets, okay? You can scan them in if you have it in hard copy. But I'll bet you a lot of your vendors and customers are emailing files to you. They're emailing the invoices to you. They're emailing purchase order and contracts to you. Well, you can just simply drag and drop them into the system. There's no need for you to print it out and scan it in. There's also barcode method and OCR method. OCR, for example, is an option where it gives you the ability to batch store a whole bunch of your documents into the system at one time. It will read the information on your documents, bring it into the system to help minimize manual data entry. At the end of the day, just know that we offer different methods of how you can capture your data and store it into the system. Once it's in the system, it's now fully searchable. The benefit with the integration with your Sage ERP is that you now will have two places where you're going to be able to search for your information. You can have access to the document within the Sage application, but then you may have a lot of staff that don't have access to Sage. So they are going to search for the document through DocLink. But just know that you have the flexibility. And then we're going to also talk about workflow. What is workflow? Workflow electronically route your documents around for review and approval. It gives you visibility to the documents. So in other words, you could be anywhere around the world and be able to have access to the documents and able to review and approve off on those documents. For you to be able to know exactly where the document's at in the process, to know who's working on it, how long it's going to take before it's completed or approved, okay, and at whose desk it's sitting on. Way to improve customer service. And also workflow give you a full audit trail. Wouldn't it be nice to be able to go in and know who approved off on that $10,000 invoice 2 years ago? We also have a way to automate deliveries of documents, and we're going to discuss today. And yes, being that it's a content management system, we also have ways to create electronic forms so that you can do away with a lot of those hard copy forms that you have in your office. Let's talk about the integration with Sage and the benefits. Okay. DocLink is linked and need to be connected and need to be communicating with your Sage ERP at all times. Data is going to be passed back and forth between the two applications to help minimize manual data entry. Because you have a lot of the data available in Sage already. You have your vendor information, you have your customer information already. Why have to retype all that information? So we're going to reuse it. Okay. Also, is you're going to be able to access documents in Sage and in DocLink. Being that DocLink is fully code integrated with Sage, being that we are alliance partner of Sage, as a customer, you can rest assured that you can upgrade Sage at any time or DocLink at any time, and rest assured that the compatibility, the integration between the two applications are always intact. Okay, you're not going to run into incompatibility issues. Please note this, because there are a lot of products out there, and they will tell you that they can integrate with Sage, but they neglect to tell you that it's through a process called screen scraping. So imagine it's like integration at the surface. So when you upgrade your Sage application or the document management system, the integration between the two is broken. So you as a customer will have to pay to redo that integration. This is why you see a lot of your peers out there. You wonder, why are you running on such an old legacy version? It's because they probably don't have budget to redo the integration with the other application. So today we have the audience from different business units. You know, we may have AP staff, we may have AR, we may have IT and controllers and financial officers and so on. So we're going to try and give you a different example of different business units and what's important for you and how it can be used in your organization. Okay. First to start with is the AP department. The AP department is one of the most trouble spot with most organizations. The biggest complaint I hear every day: we can't get the invoice and approve on time because our CFO is always traveling and he or she won't approve off on the invoice until they can actually see the invoice. So you have to wait until they get into the office, which then cause delay of payment, or yet end up having to pay penalty fee or not able to pay take advantage of early pay discount. Also is that complaint about doing a lot of duplicate data entry. Okay. And also able to have instant access to the document. An example, invoice comes into the AP department, but they can't do their matching of the invoice to the purchase order and the receiving documents because the receiving department from the other office haven't gotten sent over the receiving documents yet, or the purchase department, order department haven't sent over the purchase order yet. So for AP to do matching, we're going to resolve all of that for you. So the idea is, if you have them the invoice in hard copy, unfortunately you're going to have to scan it in. Encourage your vendors to email the invoices to you, because we have the ability where we can monitor your email server for a specific email address. So anytime anything comes into that email address, we're automatically going to grab it and store it into the DocLink system. And then our workflow takes over. Well, workflow is going to notify the appropriate staff for action on that incoming invoice. Okay. So now the question is, how does the reviewer or approver know that there is an invoice waiting for them? One way is we can do the mobile device, okay, that you can approve off on the invoice off your mobile device. So you don't need email access, you don't need to be tied to the office, you don't need to have the software loaded. Through your mobile device, through the DocLink mobile app, you can have access to the documents and be able to approve off the invoice or document. So you do it through the mobile and also the web as well, okay? The other option is you just need email access. Again, you don't need a mobile device. As long as you have access to your email, you can be across the world, sitting at the beach, sipping on your margarita and still be working. Because in the email, we can actually attach the documents with it, the invoice. If coding's been done, you will have access to all that information about that invoice. You just open up the document, look at it, and directly from your email, you can approve or reject directly from email. When you click approve or reject, based on your workflow process, the workflow will route the invoice now to the next step for action. And it will also log in the audit log of who approved it and when. Now, this is a great feature, except for if you have IT in the meeting today, they're going to say, that's great, but we get 1,000 invoices in a week, and we're not going to want to send out 1,000 emails to the CFO with 1,000 attachments. So the other option is we can send out an alert instead. This alert can be sent out on time basis, hourly, or at the end of the day. We can even add a link in this email so John could just click on that link and it will take him directly to his inbox with a listing of all the documents waiting for his approval. And the email will tell you how many came in today, how many is waiting for you, how many are overdue. Maybe you gave the approver 24 hours to act on it. So when it passes 24 hours, the system sends them a reminder. And then here we have one that's been marked for flagged for priority because maybe you want to take advantage of early pay discount. Manager loves this alert because they use it for reporting purpose at the end of the day. They want to know how many invoices came in, how many sitting on Joe's desk, how many sitting on Lisa's desk. Why did John receive 5 today and has 1 overdue, and Lisa received 15 today and she doesn't have anything overdue? You can also use the same tool. We have customers using it for monitoring how many orders came in today. How many sitting on Joe's desk? How many sitting on John's desk, and so on. Managers love this tool because you're able to monitor the workload of your staff to know exactly where everything's at. Where general staff hate workflow because it's now accountability. Okay. So also, let's say you're going to be on vacation, or you're out sick for the day or the week, you can delegate your work to other staff. So you don't have to worry about the workflow waiting for you, when you come back. That can be configured and set up through workflow. And the nice thing is once you're on workflow, you can use it for the routing and approval of any types of documents. That's the big return on the investment right there. So yes, we have customers using our workflow for the processing of orders, for processing of new vendor requests, for approval of expense report, for approval of contracts or onboarding of new staff. So let's continue. Here's a typical process that we find with most of our clients. When invoice comes into AP often will need to route it to the approving managers. The approving manager needs to look at it, and sometimes they will write down the GL code or account code they want to use on the invoice. Eventually it gets to AP. AP then will try to read their handwriting and then input that same data into Sage. Well, if you don't agree, but that's double work right there, waste company staff time. But the reason you need to do that is because the approving managers do not have access to Sage. Okay, so we can resolve that issue. The idea is, when an invoice comes in, workflow will notify the approving managers. The approving manager will go into the system, look at the invoice. But instead of handwriting the GL code on the invoice, take a look at the right here. We are connected to Sage GL master file in real time. So the approving manager can select the GL code from a drop-down list. And yes, we can secure it down. So based on their login, they will have access to certain GL code only instead of the entire list. And yes, if there are certain vendors that you deal all the time purchasing the same item all the time, using the same GL code all the time, we can set that up as a default, just like the way you have it in Sage. And yes, to help minimize data entry, because we're connected with Sage, you can type in a vendor name. It's going to go to Sage. It's going to pull over the vendor number, the payment term, tax, and so on, all the data about that vendor to help minimize that data entry. So what we're doing is we're allowing you to have coding capability in DocLink without the need to have Sage installed on the workstation. Okay. So now once the invoices are all good to go, what happens is the system is going to create a cover sheet with all the history of the coding information, who coded, when, what's the coding information. And when everything is all good, and then we can actually, what we do is, we are going to push over all that coding information from DocLink over to Sage so that the AP staff don't have to spend time doing that same data entry. If they see that there's an error, it's the wrong dollar amount or the wrong GL code, you can still make the correction in Sage. You need to do it before you post though. And once you make that correction in the back end of the database, because of our integration with Sage, Sage is going to update that information in DocLink automatically. There's no need for you to update the information in both places. So this, ladies and gentlemen, is giving you the ability to do coding in DocLink. Now, you will run into some approving managers that, they don't like changes. They like doing it the way they normally do. Send the invoice to me, and I'm going to write down the GL code. So let's let them do that. But let's do it the paperless way. So invoice comes in, workflow notified the approving manager, but instead of them handwriting the GL code on the invoice, they can use sticky notes. There's a note box area here that they can type in their notes. They can draw a line, highlight this, or annotation tool. I already mentioned that we have a full audit log that tracks every single approval and denial. But some customer will still want to see the actual approval or denial on the document itself. So we have approval stamps here that you can click on the stamp, and based on your login, the date and time, it's going to place a permanent stamp on that document. Okay. And then, of course, now when workflow routes that documents to AP, in Sage, you can have able to access the document, the invoice, the receiving documents, the PO, what have you. You can have access to those documents in Sage. You do your coding like you normally do. Once you're done doing the coding, the system is going to push all that coding information from Sage over to DocLink, tying this information to the invoice and all the associated documents. I know you're sitting there wondering, why do we need to push all that coding information over to DocLink when it's already available in Sage? It's because we want to give you searching flexibility. Wouldn't it be nice for the department manager to not have to bother the AP staff anymore? The department manager can go into DocLink and do their own searching. Hey, I want to see all the invoice anytime we purchase anything for GL code, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for my department. Or I want to see anytime my department order anything from a vendor called, Delform, from ABC company. So this, by having all these data available in DocLink, it gives you searching flexibility, and the staff can do their own searching. Okay. So the end result, it was going to push all that coding information from Sage over to DocLink. So now, invoice been approved. You go to Sage and you cut your payment. To even further automate, we have the ability where we can capture an image of that payment that you created in Sage over to DocLink, storing a copy of this payment into your file cabinet. Notice here, this payment paid for multiple invoices. So we are going to link this one payment to all those invoices, and along we pull over all the data about that payment. Okay. And yes, if you're worried about this payment being reprinted, we could even stamp the word void or non-negotiable on this payment for you. This earn feature here can be used for the capturing of any document that you create or generate in Sage or any application. So yeah, the same feature are often used when you create purchase order in Sage. When you create them, we automatically capture an image and store into DocLink. When you create, let's say, a sales order, order acknowledgement, AR invoices, okay, all those documents can be captured. Now, so imagine, because we have all these data in DocLink, wouldn't it be nice where, hey, Jody, I sent you an invoice 2 months ago, and I haven't received payment yet, so I can process your next order. Jody doesn't have to bother AP. Jody can just go into DocLink. Okay, Laura, what's the invoice number you're inquiring about? She types in the invoice number. If it's been paid, she will see the payment number, the payment date. If Jody has security permissions, Jody will be able to see a copy of that payment. And if Jody has further permission, Jody can email a copy out to me, or print it out, or export it as proof that it's been paid. So I mentioned that you can have access to the document within Sage, okay? But what about the staff who don't have access to Sage? How would they search? Well, they're going to search for document through DocLink. So this is an example of our user interface screen here. So note, one system, you can use it to store all your company's documents. So some of you sitting out there, you may have 10 companies, you may have 20 or 100, we don't care. All your company can use the system and store their company documents into DocLink. Okay. When we store a document to DocLink, we have to identify what type of document is it. Is it an invoice? Is it a check? Is it a purchase order? Is it a contract? What is it? Attached to each document type is a set of defined property values. This is fully user definable. And it's here for searching purpose. So we will work with you to define these properties here. Document types here for two primary reasons. One, security. When John logs in, the system is going to check which company does John have access to, and within that company, what types of document does John have access to, and what can he do in the system? Can he view the document? Can he print it? Can he delete it? Can he modify it? Can he approve it? What can he do? Also, document types here for searching. If I want, I can go in and say, hey, DocLink, find for me all documents within all my companies anytime a vendor name alt tech was mentioned. Or I can filter it down. DocLink, find for me only the AP invoice within Fabricon company for a specific invoice number. Yes, we can do wildcard search. We can do Boolean search. We can do relational search. In other words, DocLink, give me all the invoice that we paid yesterday or last month or last year. And we assume we will also do full text searching. I know that in the accounting department, full text searching is not important. But imagine when you expand the system to other departments like HR and for contracts and for your marketing department and so on, legal department. The ability to go in and say, hey, DocLink, find for me all the documents anytime the word alt text was mentioned, is mentioned in any document. Okay, that's full text searching. So it's very powerful. So for now, I'm just going to go in and search for an invoice. The system now found one invoice based on that invoice number, and here's all the information about that invoice. But maybe, Jody, you want to see, well, show me all the documents associated with this purchase order number. So all you have to do is just click on it, and the system will then bring up all the documents associated with that purchase order number. Now you just highlight them all. With a simple click, it will bring up all the documents on the same screen for you on a tile format or thumbnail format. You don't have to have multiple screens open. So the idea is when you create or receive these documents, you want to store them into the system right away. So when you create a purchase order in Sage or any application, we're going to capture an image of it and store it into DocLink. When your receiving department receives the good or services, they do the receiving. They're going to store those receiving documents into the system right away, and that gets linked to the purchase order. So now when the AP staff receives the invoice, that will get stored into the system, and they have instant access, visibility to all those documents on the same screen, and then they can do the matching, two-way matching or three-way matching. And yes, our system, we can set it so that it can do automated matching for you as well. So we'll talk about that at another time. Okay. So now once the invoice has been approved, you process the payment, we're going to capture an image of that payment and store it into DocLink, and that payment is going to be linked to all these associated documents. So you will have a complete history from beginning to end. That's how powerful the system can be. So this is an example of the news in the AP department. So once it's in the system, searching, I already gave you searching option already. And yes, you can search for these documents on the web, through a web portal, or through your phone as well. And on the web, by the way, you can search for documents, but you can also have access to your workflow inbox. And also, you can also do GL coding on the web as well. We actually have, we have customers, over 4,000 clients worldwide. We have a client, and actually this data has been a little bit outdated, but they now have over 5 million documents stored in DocLink. Okay. Our system, we don't care how much data you store into the system. It could be the whole congressional library. Okay. But the key is DocLink have one of the fastest search speed in the industry. I have been doing document management for over 18 years. I have seen systems that you can conduct a search before you go to lunch, and when you come back from lunch, it's still searching. Kind of defeats the purpose. But with DocLink, as long as you meet a minimum specs requirement, you can store as much as you want in there, and the system will literally find your documents within seconds. Okay. All right. So what about for those of you, I'll bet you have corporate company credit card? Yes? And I'm sure your AP staff is spending hours or days trying to reconsolidate the corporate credit card statement. Well, we can help you with that. As you know, all banks now can offer the statement in CSV format. So what we do is we can create a template of your bank statement. So AP, when you receive the bank statement at the end of the month, all you have to do is just import in that CSV file. Okay, just a click and it will import it in. Notice here we have charges for Robert, Diana, and Benjamin. AP, all you have to do now is just click on Create. The system, in a simple click, will create a separate statement per each cardholder with their itemized charges. So now you use workflow to route the statement to the cardholder. The cardholder now can append the receipt per each transaction. And if you want, you can do GL coding of these transactions. And then we're going to push all this data over to Sage. So to help minimize that duplicate data entry. A task now can be reduced down to literally minutes. Okay, what about using the system for the sales order side of the house? All the way from, from the quoting stage to the orders to the AR invoicing. Okay. To able to get that invoice quickly out to your customers so they can pay you. To able to track, know where the order is at in the process. To able to improve customer service when they call you and say, hey, Jody, what's happening with my order? When am I going to receive the order? The idea is when you create a quote, we're going to capture an image of it. We're going to store it to DocLink. We're going to pull over all the data about that quote. Okay? So now when Mr. Customer sends you the purchase order or the contract or the order request, they want to place the order. You are then going to store their order into DocLink. That's going to be linked with this quote. You're going to go to Sage and create that sales order. You're probably going to create delivery ticket, order acknowledgement, maybe pick ticket, right? So now when you go and you pick the goods to process the order, they make notes, they signed it, acknowledging what was picked, what's still outstanding. Or when you deliver the goods to Mr. Customer and they sign that delivery ticket. So now you have to store those documents into the system. Well, how can we help with that? One, when you create these documents in Sage or in any application, Sage can add a barcode to those documents. The barcode will probably represent a sales order number. So now when you go and deliver the good, Mr. Customer signed it. You now just have to batch store those signed delivery ticket into DocLink. DocLink will read the barcode and recognize, oh, that's a signed delivery ticket for order 123. And then workflow will automatically route the notification to the AR staff for invoice. Same thing with the pick ticket as well. You pick the goods, it's now been acknowledged, been signed. You now can just batch scan all those pick tickets into DocLink. It will read the barcode and know which order it's for. Okay. I can even go further than that. Maybe you're sitting saying, babe, that's great, but my drivers, they lose the signed delivery ticket all the time. So then AR staff don't know when to invoice or they invoice at all. We can help with that. So what we can do, is using the mobile app, you can take a picture of that signed delivery ticket. And then it gets uploaded into DocLink automatically, and workflow then will notify the AR for invoicing. So that driver there, you don't have to worry about them losing or misplacing the signed delivery ticket. So now once AR receives the workflow notification that the goods been fulfilled or it's been delivered, they now go into Sage and they create the AR invoice. When they create the AR invoice, sometimes your customer wants to see a signed copy of that delivery ticket or a copy of that purchase order or the contract. So they have to go, get off their desk, go to the file cabinet, look for those documents, scan them in, and attach it to the invoice. I'm just getting a headache just talking about the process. Well, we can help with that. Okay. All you have to do is create the AR invoice. DocLink, we are going to capture an image of that AR invoice and store it to the file cabinet. At the same time, we're going to go into DocLink and look for that signed delivery ticket or that purchase order. We're going to attach it to the invoice, and then we're going to automatically email it out to your customer, or we can electronically fax it out or send it to a default printer. So at the end of the day, when you create that AR invoice, your customer will receive an email like this here, and attached to that email, you will see a copy of the invoice, and along with that, a copy of the signed delivery ticket and also the purchase order. And all they have to do is just you create the AR invoice, and that's it. And we do the rest. Folks, this is a unique tool or feature that our solution have that, as far as I know, no other product out there can do. Okay? The ability for automatic distribution of generated documents along with the supplemental documents. We have customers using this tool for purchase order. When you create the purchase order, we can automatically send it out to the vendor. But if you want, maybe you want to attach the copy of the quote with that purchase order, or maybe the terms and conditions, or maybe the delivery instruction. We do that for you. Or for your sales order side of the house, when you create your sales order and you create the order acknowledgement, we can automatically send a copy of that order acknowledgement to your customer for you. Okay. We have a real true case story. Customer, before they process the AR invoice, okay, and they would then print it out, stuff the envelope, stamp it, and send it out. Not only does it take forever to get the payment because it takes them a long time to get it, and then the excuse is we never got the mail, okay? But they actually save $11,000 every year just on postage. We're not talking about staff time of stuffing envelope or the printing and the ink and the toner and the paper. This is just stamp. There's your ROI right there. Okay. What about some of the concern with your chief financial officer? Their concern is they want to drive down some of your internal costs. Okay, the cost of printing, the cost of capping, and the cost of wasting staff time finding documents. Okay, and also complying with audits and reducing the litigations. And of course, is they want a system where they can have a good return on the investment. They're able to use it company-wide to take your company, your whole entire company paperless. Because why do you want to spend money on buying a document management system for AP department, for HR department, for a separate system for, let's say, for your marketing department? What if you can have one system that everybody can use? Okay. This, you may not believe it, okay, but this is a research done by PricewaterhouseCoopers, where their finding is you're spending $20 each time to file a document. You're spending $120 for staff to get off their chair to go and find the document. Maybe it's in a different office. Maybe it's in the 5th floor, and here you are on the 1st floor. That is, if you can find it, and if you cannot, you need to recreate it. It's costing you $220. This research actually was done a couple years ago, so it's kind of outdated. Okay, the cost now just increased. What about for those of you who are using offsite storage? Why are you paying a company to store your files, manage your files, and to find your files? We had a customer in the Midwest. They were paying $85,000 a year to a company to just store their files because they don't have storage space. Okay. If you're using offsite storage, find out what you're paying every year. I mean, this $85,000 here paid way more than the system, DocLink system itself. There's your big return right there. Okay. What about audits? Do you get regular audits? We have a customer, a Sage customer. They are a public company. They get regular audits. And one year they were asked to produce a lot of these documents because they, for the spending of about $1 million, okay? They were not able to produce all the documents requested. They were fined $100,000. Okay, if you want to talk to that customer, I would love to have you connected with them to see if it's a true story or not. So after that, that fine, they were determined that they will never be penalized again. So they went out seeking for a solution. They ended up looking for many solutions. They ended up with DocLink. Today, the number of audits have reduces. They have a secure system now where they are storing all the company documents into the system. Okay. So if you get audited, what you can do is provide a login to your auditors. They can go into the system and do their own searching instead of your staff time. If they're external, what you can do is you can go and search for them. So let's say, hey, Jody, your company got audited. I need for you to produce for me all the AP documents for all your companies. And yes, Jody, I need those documents. Those documents have to be within a certain year. So you just submit your search criteria. In literally seconds, the system is going to bring up a search result. Here you find 100, oh boy. The system found 131 documents meeting that search criteria. Now, if you have security permission, you can print it out, you can email it out, you can download those documents to a thumb drive or CD or DVD. And when you download it to the thumb drive, you can even include the DocLink search engine with that. So that way your auditor can just go into that thumb drive and conduct DocLink search. In other words, they can go into that thumb drive and say, hey, show me only the AP check anytime Oasis pay a company called Sinclair, and it will bring up only the AP check for Sinclair. We have customers using this feature here for the legal department. When they go to court, they just go into DocLink, search for all the documents pertaining to that case, download it, so their attorney at court is doing DocLink search while their opponents, dealing with papers. What about, are you folks doing expense report? Are you still using the good old Excel spreadsheet? We can help with that as well. I actually use this religiously because when I travel, I lose my receipt all the time. And our policy is when you don't produce a receipt, you don't get reimbursed. So I don't have the problem anymore. When I travel, I pull out my mobile app. Notice on my mobile app, I can search for my client files. I have access to my workflow inbox for anything waiting for my approval, but then I can also capture documents as well. So I mentioned about, you remember the drivers going out, delivering the goods and able to take pictures of the signed delivery ticket? This is how they can do it. For me, I just take pictures of my receipt. So I click on receipt, I take pictures of the receipt. It will automatically have my name, the date of the receipt, so I just have to type in the dollar amount and the purpose of that receipt. Then it gets automatically uploaded into DocLink. So now at the end of the month or whenever I'm ready, I just log into the system. The system will auto-create the expense report number. I have my name. The receipt's already there with the date of the receipt. And all I have to do is just click on Create. The system will create an expense report. My expense report with all the GL coding already there, the receipt attached, and now workflow will route it to my manager for approval. And then we push all this data over to Sage. So my AP staff don't have to do that same data entry. So yes, if you need a basic expense reporting, we can help you with that as well. We can also help you with HR. Did you know that HR department is the second most paper-intensive department in most organizations? We can help you comply with HIPAA requirements to secure your employee documents and information, okay? To help you streamline your onboarding process, to making sure you comply with the onboarding process. And also track your employee certification, who's active, who's inactive. Because when you onboard new staff, there's a lot of action that has to be performed. Did someone give them the employee handbook? Did we have a computer and keys and so on? Making sure all those actions are done, okay? And we also create, when you import new staff, there's a lot of forms that has to be completed. Well, we can create those forms for you electronically. So if you're interested, we'd love to talk to you more about how we can create those forms electronically for you, because we want you to go as paperless as you can. Also, another big area that we can help, contract management, okay? Please don't go out and look for a separate system for contract management, a separate system for expense report, and a separate system to help process with your AP invoices, okay? We can do that all for you. Well, how are we able to help? One, we are able, because we're able to store files in any format, okay? We have document collaborations, check-in, check-out, version control capability. Yes, some of you may be using SharePoint for check-in, check-out document collaborations, but you probably are complaining that it's not very easy to use. Some of you are complaining, that, yeah, we have multiple people working on the contract, and so we have multiple versions, and now we can't merge them together. We can resolve that. So let's say I draft up a contract. It's in Word format. Okay, I'm going to store it to DocLink. Workflow now will notify Jody that Jody needs to look at that contract and need to make any necessary edits. Okay, so now Jody just needs to check that contract out. When Jody checks it out, it's going to lock that contract so no one else can work on it. They can look at it, they just can't work on it. So when Jody's done, she's going to check it back in. When she checks it back in, the system will create version number 2, the date and time and who worked on it. So we keep all the history of the contract. So based on your permission, when you log in, if you can see only the final version of the contract or all the history of that contract. So now when Jody wants to email that contract out to Lisa, the customer, the system, DocLink, can convert that Word contract into TIFF or PDF format. Lisa now just need to sign it, send it back, and it's just stored into the system. You apply, when the contract expires, the retention date of the contract. The system can send you automatic alert. Hey, Jody, here's the list of contract that's going to be expiring next month. Or here's the list of contract that met its retention schedule yesterday, and you take action on it. So at the end of the day, the return on investment is we have a full enterprise document management system. Many will start in AP, but then you can expand that same system company-wide. Okay? Because we've been doing this for over 31 years, we have clients worldwide. We're one of the very few that offer 24/7 support, if that's important for you. Okay? We have offices in UK, Australia, Canada, and of course throughout the nation. Our system is a solid, state-of-the-art, solid, proven system, been used by thousands of people. We're not new in the game, okay? Because we sleep and breathe of DocLink. That's what we do. We implement them by day in and out. So we have very rapid, implementation time for you. And you have now 2 companies to support you, not only Oasis, but also Altec. You can contact us directly to support you. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and conclude this presentation, and we're going to open up to any questions you might have. Jody?
Hi, thank you so much, Laura. We do have a couple of questions. One relates to what you just said about the implementation. What is an average time frame to implement for AP only with workflow?
Well, depending on the complexity of your workflow, but typical implementation of DocLink will take about 4 weeks to 6 weeks, but also depending on if you want to add like OCR for further automation, then that's going to extend, the project out a little bit longer. So, but like I said, at the minimum, it takes between 4 to 6 weeks, and then, extend from there. Hopefully that answers your question. The more modules, if you want to add the web, you want to add the mobile app, of course, that takes more time to implement.
Thank you. Another question looks like it's also related to implementation. Who sets up the workflows? Is that the customer is trained how to do that, or does it require Altec support to set up the workflows?
At the minimum, with the initial project, we want to create at least one workflow for you. If you have the time and the resource, we can train you. We call it self-sufficient admin training, so that you can go in and create additional workflow yourself. We will always train you on how to modify the existing workflow, because we understand your business process change. So you can go in and change our existing workflow that we created. So, we're here to help you, 100%, or we can train you so you can be self-sufficient and expand the system on your own.
Okay, great. Another question, when invoicing a customer via email, will it take the email from Sage, or would they have to re-enter?
We will read the email address on the invoice or in Sage or in a database somewhere. As long as there's somewhere that we can connect to that identify, here's the customer or here's the vendor, that here's the email address tied to them, that's how we will automate the emailing. Also, if you use electronic faxing, yes, we can, if we recognize a fax number, we'll electronically fax it out, and if we don't recognize an email address or fax number, we'll automatically send it to a default printer.
Okay. And another question, can mileage be added to an expense reimbursement?
Yes. I wish I can show you my expense report, but yes, you can add, you can just type in the miles, the system will auto-calculate for you.
And is that set up during the implementation with the mileage amount? Or is that something that they can change as needed?
So what we do is, if you want to do expense report, we will ask you for a sample of your expense report, what column, what field that you need. We will work with you to create that expense report so that it will auto-calculate based on the current, reimbursement rate. We will train you so that you can go in and make modification, because we understand the reimbursement, with the federal rate changes every year. So you will be able to go in and change that.
Okay, thank you. Another question, you mentioned that employees can access DocLink over a web client and also on mobile devices. Does that work on both iOS and Android platforms?
Absolutely, yes.
Great. Another question, how tech savvy do our employees need to be to use DocLink? That's kind of an open-ended question.
Well, I can tell you, I used to be a trainer, okay? And I used to work specifically with government agencies. And as you know, when they're there forever. So I remember training a lady, very not computer savvy, okay, where I was telling her, okay, right mouse click. She literally jumped off her chair, jump on the chair and say, mouse, mouse. I mean, she didn't even know what a right mouse click is. So if we can train someone that to able to use the system and to love the system, trust me, you're going to be able to learn it, okay? You're going to find that once you start using the system, other staff are going to see how efficient you are, how easy you are to access your information, that they are going to want to go paperless too. I mean, I have customers literally, their statement is, we can't live without DocLink. It will become like your email or like your microwave, where you will become dependent on it. It's something you use every day.
Okay, thank you. Another question, this relates to security. Can security rights and privileges be set up for each user?
Yes. DocLink is integrated with Active Directory security, so it'll be easy for your IT to manage. They just need to import in the users. Because DocLink is designed for enterprise-wide use, the security is very granular. There's over 18 different security permissions that you can set up per each user. So you may decide that, hey, Jody, you can only have access to the AP invoice only, but I'm going to set it up so you can only view those. You can't print or you can't email. So yes, you can set up security per each users, or you can set up for groups. Very flexible.
Okay, and here is another question, and I think I can answer this one. The question is, where can we find information about pricing? And this is Jody Patterson with Oasis Solutions. You would simply get in touch with me, and we would be happy to set up a personal demonstration of DocLink for your company and get your specific requirements, and then Laura and I would work together to draft a proposal for you. Did I answer that correctly, Laura?
Yes, perfectly.
I told you we've been at this a while, Laura and I.
One thing I want to ask, one question that nobody asked is, how can, in other words, how is DocLink available? DocLink can be available in different flavors. The most popular is what we call on-premise, where it's a one-time purchase of the software. You will own the system for life. The only recurring cost is the annual maintenance and support. So what we do is we will install the software on your server, on your environment. However, some of you out there may have initiative for, you want data to be on a cloud hosted provider server, okay? So yes, DocLink can be install on your cloud hosted provider server as well. We just need to make sure that DocLink can communicate with Sage. You buy the software, instead of installing on your server, we will install it on your cloud hosted provider server. Okay. Next year, we're coming out with what we call the SaaS environment, where you do not need to buy the software. Okay, it's a monthly subscription. Your data is going to reside on the Alltech Azure server, so you'll be paying a monthly fee as you go. Okay, so that's another option as well.
Great, thank you, Laura. It looks like that's all of the questions for this afternoon, and we are just about out of time, so that worked out perfectly. Thanks again, Laura, for the wonderful presentation on DocLink for us this afternoon, and thank you to our customers and other attendees for sitting through our presentation. Please, if you have any questions, Laura has just put up on the screen my contact information. This is Jody Patterson, Client Care Manager with Oasis Solutions. You can reach me at 502-429-6902, extension 225, or email me at jody@oasisky.com. That's Jody. I look forward to speaking with you, and thanks again, Laura. You have a great day.
Thank you. Have a great afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.